we'll start with some introductions and then we'll get going. So first of all, for everyone out there watching, thank you very much for joining us for this Q&A with Brent Hodge and Chris Kelly, directors, producers for The Holy Game, which is coming out on VOD streaming platforms on Tuesday, June 29th, and is already available on Crave up in Canada. I say up because I am down in the United States. As you can see from my face, I am stuck in a kind of a heat wave, but nothing like Chris out in Vancouver. So I realize he's in a nice air-conditioned studio there, so he must be feeling just fine.
Just fine.
So my name is Greg Lawless, and I'm one of the founders and organizers for the Kicking and Screening Film Festival. We are North America's only soccer film festival. We also have some other arms that do distribution and marketing around soccer films. Basically, we are a film company dedicated to soccer and celebrating the game as it appears in film and the community that arises around that. And we're really excited to be involved with The Holy Game. With their virtual premiere, it's been really cool to get involved in this, watch this film. And before we get going, I want to just provide a little bit of a chance for both of you guys to introduce yourselves. Chris, since you came on the talk first, I'm going to let you go first.
All right.
So, go ahead. Give us everyone a chance to get to know who you are a little bit.
Yeah. So my name is Chris Kelly. I am a producer and director based in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. I've known Brent Hodge here since 2008, I want to say. Is that about right? Mm-hmm. We worked together at the CBC and have collaborated on a couple of films. We worked together very closely on Hodge's first big breakout hit called A Brony Tale. And we've been friends ever since. And I make podcasts and TV up here in Canada with my production company, Kelly and Kelly. That's why I've got this fancy setup, hence the podcasting. Yeah.
And I'm Brent Hodge. I'm a film director. I primarily do pop culture documentaries. This is our second or third sports film, and one that Chris and I collaborated on, which was a lot of fun and a big journey. It's taken a few years to get to this spot, but we're so happy it's coming out, and I can't believe it's launching tomorrow. I'm in Canada as well. I'm in Toronto. I have 2 misspelled tattoos on my body, and half Canadian, half Kiwi, and I'm terrible at soccer as well.
Very nice. So you started that by saying, this is a sports film, and it is a sports film because there is sports in it, and we consider it a soccer film, but it is so much more than that, right? I mean, it really goes into a lot about spirituality in the Catholic Church and what's involved in becoming a priest, and like that question of why would anybody become a priest in today's day and age. Even one of the priests in the film asks that question. It's like, it's so weird to do it. But so start by telling us a little bit about how did this project come about to tell a story about a soccer tournament, and then obviously to go much deeper into all of it. Brent, I'll throw it at you, Brent.
Sure. Well, I'm going to throw it at Chris because Chris is the one who brought it to me, and his sort of journey into it is much more exciting than mine. I just saw it from an outsider and was like, priest playing soccer, that's a movie. Coming from where Chris brought it from is really interesting.
Well, it was funny. I'd come out to see a film, I guess it must have been Pistol Shrimps, that I'd done a little bit of editing on. It was premiering at Tribeca, and I happened to there was a little buzz around just like, oh, this is a cool film. It's about sports. And Hodge and I were talking like, oh, this would be fun to maybe do another sports thing. And I just happened to be having some drinks with a Sports Illustrated writer and a friend of my family, and actually a big Catholic. And he's written a bunch of books about Catholicism. And I was just kind of telling him this. And he's like, actually, there's this very interesting soccer tournament that takes place in Rome. And it's like, that's all priests. And I was like, oh, that sounds fascinating. And so I kind of told Hodge, and he was like, let's go do it. Like, let's learn more. Let's email them, see what's going on. And it just so happened that soccer tournament was happening like 2 weeks after Tribeca.
Mhm.
Like, and so Hodge graciously sent me and my dad out to Vatican City to see it in action, to see if it was worth covering. And of course, yeah, we met all these people and amazing people, and realized that it's not just this amazing tournament, but there's such a deeper layer around spirituality and commitment. I think is a big theme in this film. And yeah, that's how it all began.
And as you started production, how did you get the church to agree to this? I mean, I can't think the church is the kind of thing that like said, "Oh yeah, sure, bring your cameras in, shoot away."
Some laughs in the audience. Yeah, there was it was, it's a, and I got to give a lot of credit to Lauren Berkovich, who I think's on in this Zoom here, but there's like a Vatican Press Association. Is it CCA? What's their? It doesn't. I mean, they're like
it was a network. It was the internal like media network within the Vatican, who we
like
kind
a
of
BBC.
approached through.
BBC and the Vatican.
Yeah, exactly. And they do all the like programming for the Vatican, and every time the Pope speaks and different programming, they sort of have access to anyone who's allowed to have cameras on the property. There's a little bit of a loophole for us because the soccer fields aren't within the Vatican walls; they're actually outside. So we had to get permission from the schools to do that. But the deaconite ceremony and all this that happens within. So we eventually would have to have a conversation with them. And we just talked about what kind of movie we want to make, and there wasn't really much pushback. I think they get a lot of pushback for different types of films that have been made about the Vatican, about Catholicism. There's sort of like two levels of those films. It's either a hard-hitting journalist film, or it's a produced film within from them. And so they're pretty open to it, right, Chris? Like I don't remember getting too much pushback.
I think like with any kind of journalism, it's about relationships, and it's about building upon relationships. And we'd had an in initially with this fellow that I'd met up with, and he kind of passed us on to somebody else, who passed us on to somebody else, who passed us on to somebody else, and then we had just officially at some point in the game, we got official press accreditation, which allowed us to film. And I mean, one of the most special moments for personally was being literally right on the altar in St. Peter's filming, like steps away from the elevation ceremony, their ordination. Like that is unprecedented access to have that kind of camera up there, and we were just fortunate enough to build that trust and hold it.
But they never once, I don't think they've even seen the film. There was never any sign off. There was no like notes or access from them of any kind. It was just, can we film here? We're going to go make our film, and that was the last we heard from them. There was never any sort of understanding after that.
Knock on wood.
So there were no So there were no questions of sensitivities to say, hey, can you avoid this or avoid that? Nothing like that.
Nothing prescriptive. Like
right.
it was definitely, there was like maybe some hesitation around like, what kind of doc are you doing? Always at every turn. But at the end of the day, we're coming through the lens of the tournament. They want it. This is like, the tournament is a press piece. Like It is something that's trying to get the word out and humanize the priesthood. That's a main function of the thing. And so they were very open to that.
And probably leaning on the tournament gave you that in and say, oh, no, it's about soccer. It's about soccer.
It's
right. About soccer. Right?
That's right.
Yeah. And like in some ways it was our way in, but it was also the way in that we wanted. I think it's such a linear film, and it's kind of too easy, I think, to just make a straightforward Catholic film and show what's right and wrong. It's like, I wanted to show this through, this is sort of the quirky lens that we always do with our films. And I love that. It's like, priests who play soccer, you're gonna come in for the soccer, and like you said, you're gonna see so much more. And I just really loved that. And then it came down to picking characters and who these people could be, and we just really wanted to find honest people who were willing to speak about all the different layers of the onion of Catholicism, from sport to faith to the future to everything.
Well, we'll talk about the priests in a second, but I think you touch on something that is also very important to us, and why like kicking and screening is what we are, right? This idea that soccer is a way into other parts of our society, our culture, our personalities, our character, whatever it is, our relationships, all of that stuff. And a lot of the films that we choose to, celebrate and champion are along those lines. So like when I saw this film, I was like, this is clearly a soccer film as I define a soccer film, as we define a soccer film, other people would say this is a film about the church, or something like that. So, I really appreciated that was coming out of this, of like, and you're right about the linear, right? So great, because you have a tournament. You can just build your chapters. It's almost built for you. It's like round 1. Okay. We go to act 2, round 2, semifinals, and you can sort of build it like that. And obviously the final culminating in that, the ordainment, if you will, at the end is a nice juxtaposition in that way. So,
well, it's also, on that note, Greg, it's like I get sort of a lot of criticism for making very niche films a lot. And for me, what excited me about this is that everybody touches soccer.
Yeah.
We're saying before, there's more kids in Canada that play soccer than hockey now. And it's just this game that is the beautiful game. It's the world game. Everyone connects to this. And that to me makes maybe what is a niche idea a lot bigger. If they were playing like cricket or something, I don't think this film would fly the same way. It's that
Which the Vatican does have a cricket team. that has beat the Queen's team, but they're quite good.
Interesting,
but a bit more niche. Yes,
I think more niche. It's probably why they can also have a tournament, right? Because everyone around the world plays it. They all come here. What's that one thing that unites them other than their faith? Is that there's this game that they can all sort of latch onto in ways. So,
it's a truly like, even though we never left Rome, it was such an international feeling to everything. You'd go to a different college and you were in a different world.
Right.
Like everyone's speaking different language. Like it's pretty wild.
So you mentioned, the priests and looking for honesty, looking for, someone who's going to really open up a little bit. So talk to me a little bit about the priests and dealing with them, getting them to talk, because there are a couple in there that are very, very honest. And I appreciated that. My respect for them went way up versus maybe someone who had, towed the line or said the company line or something like that. So, Grayson comes to mind, not only because he's from Michigan and I'm a fellow Michigander, but also Duarte, the Portuguese priest, comes to mind. These guys they opened up, and talk to me a little bit how, number one, how you got them to do that, and were there other things, and is that why you focused on them?
Sure. I mean, it's time is of value to you, and that spending time with people will always be listening, making them open up, but it's always a time factor. We went over to Rome quite a few times as this tournament got bigger. I think there was like sort of like a millennial young element to it as well. We talked to a lot of rectors and different people. We talked to a ton of different people at different priests.
Yeah.
But it was like, they're our age, and there's something like they take their clerical off and they come and have beers with us. And it was like, it's just normal. It seems so normal. Those sort of nights out really helped to start things off. I think just giving them a platform to just speak and listen, where I don't know if they've ever really had that. That was really special and important. But I'd say time is the biggest one for me. I don't know about you, Chris.
Yeah. I mean, the most revealing part of the film for me is when we're out with Duarte in the middle of the film, and we're out. We were literally just out having dinner, having drinks, and that's when he really opened up in such a significant way, and it just felt like friends talking. And that's how you do it. It is this building that relationship, building the trust.
Drinking. We're getting to drinking.
And drinking
you
together.
drink with them.
When in Rome.
Yeah.
So when in Rome, totally. But the funny thing about all that is that sometimes I think to the bystander, you're like, oh wow, you're talking about really taboo subjects. But what's interesting, especially with Father Michael, these are questions that they get all the time.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, like about death, sex, marriage, sensitivities of becoming a priest. They actually know the answers to these things because they've thought about them a lot. And so I think for us as just regular people, it feels like a bit taboo, but for them, they're very open about it because they have to be. Like they're making this choice. They're making the choice to be celibate forever. Like, so they kind of have to have an answer and know why they're doing it.
Right, but so often those conversations are happening in private, right? Where it's like
True, yeah.
priest and one of his flock or something having that conversation, or someone who's struggling or potentially thinking about joining the priesthood and having that. So rare that it just comes out in public, or at least it is for me. I will say I don't hunt down Catholic, priest documentaries, but so it was a good thing for me using soccer again to get into that way.
It was also like we had a really small crew. Like a lot of the times, just Chris and I. Chris is very versed in audio, and I was doing a lot of the cinematography. I think if we had a bigger crew, 6-7 people, I think they would have got a little more shy. A lot of the time, this is really simple and small. But you're right. Like they had this sort of a platform for those answers now. Great.
The small crew is a big thing. The very first film that we showed as Kicking and Screening in 2009 was a French film called Les Yeux dans les Bleus, which is about the French national team in 1998 when they won the World Cup. And they seemed to have access to everything. They were at the pre-tournament camp. They were in the locker room after Zidane got a red card in the quarterfinals. I mean, just like crazy access that they had for this stuff. And a little later on, maybe 10 years later, 15 years later, I was talking to one of the players from that team because I was trying to convince him to let me put cameras into an MLS team in a similar way. And I was talking about, we'd have 5, 6, whatever, that kind of thing. And I mentioned this film and he said, yeah, you know what was good about that film? I said, what? He said, there was one guy with one camera, which is why you don't see the bench when Zidane gets the red card, because he's in the locker room, not on the bench. And I said, well, that's what it is. The real fly on the wall, just the one fly kind of getting that story. So
that's harder when you're shooting the games, I'll say. I would love to have a crew of 10 people and a drone and the whole works. And we're used to watching soccer that way. So that became challenging. These are big fields in the middle of the day in Rome. And no cover. And it's like 1-0.
And your angle is down here, right? So
down there. It's like the games were more challenging. We knew we sort of had to bring it for the finals. We brought a few more people, but I would say that sort of like real element of verite was what got us there. I also think I was trying to find, Chris grew up Catholic, I didn't, and I was trying to find a way to relate to this and not have like any preconceived notion. And where I got in was, these are a bunch of young men who are graduating college, and this is their last year of college, and they kind of have to move on, and soccer's over and the fun is over, and you kind of have to know what you're going to do for the rest of your life. And I went through that too. So I related in a way where I sort of said, if you take soccer and Catholicism, everything out of the way, what are they doing right now? This is their last year. And I totally remember that last year of it. There's a lot that's built in, a lot of emotions that are built into that last year of college. And so that's how I personally related to them.
And they even talk about it, how when they get out, right?
Yeah.
They're the same person, but people view them differently.
Yeah.
That's the same as getting out of college, right? You're the same person you were 6 months ago who really just wants to go to the bar or the frat party or whatever. But people look at you differently and say, that's not what you're supposed to do or something, it's whatever it is. So speaking of the priests, we have a short video that you guys provided that I want to just play. I'm going to screen share here and play this video of a priest one of the priests talking about the film, because I want to talk to you guys about the reaction from the priests. And you guys told me beforehand even that you're a little nervous maybe for them to see it, right? So let me set up this screen share here very quickly. And then we can play it.
Do you want me to set it up like Conan O'Brien?
Yeah, sure.
Conan O'Brien, yes.
That'd be great.
This is Father Michael, who is in our film. He's on the NAC team, and he's currently on the road right now with a few other priests, and we connected with him today after he just saw the film. So here we are.
Okay, thank you. All right, and now if I can get this screen share to work. There we go.
So I thought the movie was really awesome. It'd been a few years in production, so I was really looking forward to see how it has come out. I thought it told the story really well. Brent and Chris and everyone involved really allowed us to kind of say where we were coming from and what was motivating for us in terms of both playing soccer, but also like why we were becoming priests. And so it was really cool just to be able to tell our story, and then also just seeing them let the story unfold as it happens, rather than coming in with their own agenda. So I really thought they captured it well. For a lot of men who enter the priesthood, this isn't a decision they're just kind of jumping into without thinking about it at all. In a way, it's like the entirety of our lives. So it's something that we've wrestled with for a while. So having the opportunity to speak about that with some with you who are interested in hearing it was a great opportunity for us as well. I broke my ribs, and because I broke my ribs and on the sideline is why I ended up in the soccer film to begin with. So obviously, I felt like I didn't get to play enough soccer. Obviously, I'm not featured enough in that regard, but that's fine. I wasn't playing. But I thought there's some really cool shots of the playing of soccer. There's some really stylistic and artistic pieces of just playing soccer. They make us look better than we probably are. I think you captured a good balance of showing the soccer, but then also kind of telling the stories of the characters and the people involved as well. I'm currently driving on Highway 15 going north to Montana for a week of vacation. We got welcome to Idaho. We're going to Idaho right now. So I'm in Idaho. But otherwise, I'm a priest for the Archdiocese of Boston. I work in the vocations office, which means I help men who are thinking about the priesthood to kind of go through that process of making that decision and entering the seminary. I guess I go into things without much expectation anyway. I kind of take life as it comes. And I usually find the reasons why I do things are different than the reasons that God has in store. So even why I thought, okay, I should go to Rome to study, this seems to be the next step for me. What I ended up getting out of that experience was totally different than what I imagined. Hopefully they enjoy it. Hopefully, it's fun to watch, but also hopefully it kind of reveals just the humanity of the seminarians, the priests, that priests are real people. We have our joys, we have our trials. Even in the Catholic Church, for Catholics, a priest is often someone just they see in the sanctuary, celebrating mass at the altar, but then doesn't exist in real life. So hopefully this just kind of helps paint a picture of who priests are and that they're real people too.
Awesome, love that. And I think you guys have made a teaching tool for him for when some young guy comes to say, I'm thinking about the seminary. So here, number one, what position do you play? And number two, watch this.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's your jersey.
So how many priests have seen it, and what has the reaction been in general?
So let's see. I mean, Father Michael's, it's been sent to everyone. We just haven't got everyone's reaction yet. Father Oscar, we have not heard from, which is someone we're really looking forward to seeing. And I'm sure everyone who's on this Q&A has seen the film of Father Oscar is asked to leave the priesthood. And we connect with him afterwards, and he has a young kid and a wife now, and he hasn't seen the full film. So that's probably the one that we're most focused on right now to want to see it.
Yeah.
Have you gotten any reactions from anyone that says this is not quite what I was signed up for? And
No, we haven't actually. I think that they were pleasantly surprised with the quality. I think sometimes they sort of do some of these YouTube type video things and it doesn't quite work out. I think it's funny, we haven't really bridged the conversation of like, what do you think of the other priests and what they were going through? What do you think of Father Oscar's story being associated with yours? But I think their own journeys so far have been really positive. And I think that, like Michael said, we show an honest film, and we show, you know, a light that these are human beings.
Yeah, humanity is one that comes out a lot. I mean, the Grayson, I guess we call him Father Grayson now, right? It's been
technically,
right?
yeah.
Like, he talks about that as well. And just listening to Father Michael talking, you almost feel like you're talking to some, 28-year-old kid that, just made a decision to move to Montana, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to like, I decided to become a priest, right? It's like, or to get married or whatever it is. It could be any of those things. You talked about commitment at the beginning, Chris, right? But it's like, he's giving an explanation for why he committed to something. And what I love about it is that he uses the same language, the same rhythm of his speech as like any other 28-year-old or 30-year-old or whatever he is. I don't know, but you often, I think of a priest as being somehow, I don't know, different in that way, and would have a different.
When we started this, my imagery in my head was like bald Friar Tuck, like pot belly, older priests. And so we were pleasantly surprised when we got like these good-looking burly men, like GQ priest dudes.
Yeah.
I was thrown away, and I still, like, even there watching him, he's like, I'm on a road trip. You're like, oh yeah, you like, you can go
on vacation with his collar on.
Yeah, literally on vacation. I was like, vacation from what? Like, okay, yeah, I guess. So it's, I still get shocked when I see this, and I feel like we got that, like, that humanity wasn't made up or edited. Like, we really truly got it. We wouldn't have put it in if we didn't.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like going talk about Duarte again. Like, when we met him, because he was somewhat accidental, Grayson said to us, he said, you should really talk to this player on the Greg or Gregoriana. He's just an interesting guy. Like, he's just cool. Like, I think if people know that, like, Duarte exudes this kind of cool vibe.
Right.
And yeah, man, it, like, just hanging out with him, like, he's a musician, as we show in the film. And I'm a musician as well. And we'd just sit there and kind of like look at our editing software and our music stuff and like just swap stuff. Like, it felt very, just like a friend, like just being there with a friend, hanging out.
Yeah, that shot of him on the beach, just like chilling, right? Shirt open a little bit. Like, if you then said, "Oh, he's a priest," I'm like,
what? Yeah,
I know. And we have to say this too. I mean, we follow the North American team because we're North American. They speak English and just seemed people we connected to, and it was easier. But we found out pretty quick that North Americans are not good at soccer. I'm gonna get a lot of controversy for that, but like, the chances of North American priests making the finals was really slim. So we knew we had to find more characters while we were there. So we kind of looked at all the teams that have made the finals. Like, Duarte was on the Gregoriana, and they've made the finals many years in a row. Or Mater Ecclesia, or the Urbano Lions. They've made it, and so we kind of knew where we could gravitate towards. Knowing that you should follow a team that gets the finals. It's a pretty short film if you follow the North Americans.
Yeah, that's right.
The speaking of the soccer, how is it? Is it any good? I mean,
It's good.
Talent out there?
Yeah. It's good. I mean, Greg, you know this, I did a documentary on the TFC with MLS. Like, this isn't the pro leagues, but this is good soccer. Like, it is competitive, and it's really exciting to watch. And there are a few players that played, right? Chris
played pro. There's a couple players that played pro. There's an Irish guy and a South American guy. And it's also like, because it's an international setting, the level of play is just way higher. Like, it's just in people's blood over there, especially in Europe and the Latin countries. They just come to play, and the attitude is so funny on the field. I would say it's not very holy on the field. Like, it is like, they make big falls and they grab their knees. Like, they do all the stuff that you'd see in pro play. And they hate, like, they get nasty with each other. Like, so all that's there too.
They have an easier way to absolution, though.
That's right.
For any of their hijinks, right? It's
blue
like
card.
The blue card, right? You just go into the sin bin, right? The British call it a sin bin, right? It's the perfect name for it. You get the blue card, go in the sin bin.
Yes.
Once you come back, Yeah, I think I think the tournament, it just sounds very interesting and fun. I'd love to see it in person someday. I'd love to just go and watch and see what it's all about.
It's wild. It happens. I mean, it didn't happen this year or last year because
Right.
of COVID, but I bet you it will happen next year. And I would recommend going to the finals because the finals happen. It's a very condensed kind of one day of play, and you
Yeah.
get kind of 4 games in that day.
Okay.
And they just play back to back. That's the other thing that actually maybe we didn't illustrate, but like usually because of how it's structured, it's like the winning team has just come off the field from the qualifying. Like they're exhausted on that final day.
It's good fitness for them.
Oh man.
There is one of my favorite shots is when Turion, right, Oscar.
Oh
right?
yeah.
You have a shot of him and so it looks like he's trying to he's got a piece of paper, he's wearing his jersey or whatever, and it's like he's looking at strategy or notes or like what subs he's going to make in the second half.
Probably.
He looks like a coach, right? Just like any other coach anywhere around the world, which I love that shot of him.
They also have extra coaches that are secular. That's something that just also didn't quite make it.
Yeah.
There was a lot, but they have like, especially they're all technically Italian teams because they're all in Italy.
Yeah.
And so they kind of have these like slick looking like Italian coaches right next to the priests that are shouting, and like it's kind of amazing.
So first of all, I want to thank you guys for joining us on this. This is great. We are going to put this on our YouTube channel, and we'll spread this around as much as possible. But tell the world where they should go and watch this.
Sure. It's Crave TV is launched in Canada tonight, and so you can get it there streaming, and then it's around the world. It's going to be on a ton of VOD platforms all over with Gravitas. They're doing worldwide, so Amazon, Vimeo, iTunes, YouTube, you name it, you can get it. And it's going to be tomorrow that launches, and it's all over from South America all the way to Europe.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we look forward to helping push this thing as far and wide as possible. And I want to thank you guys again for this. It's been nice to meet you, but also to enjoy your film. And good luck with the film and whatever else comes up. And as soon as I have another sports film in mind or a soccer film or something, I'm going to call you guys up and say, let's go make it.
Let's do
Please
it.
do.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg.
Right. Chris, Brent, thanks very much. Everybody else, thank you. Hope you've enjoyed it. Make sure you check out the film. It's called The Holy Game. It is awesome. It's well worth your time to watch. And then you can make your plans to travel once COVID all lifts fully. Hopefully you can go to the Vatican and actually watch the Clericus Cup. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you later on.
Bye.